Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 9:58 a.m. We are a little late with this interview, but we are going to be talking with lupus warrior Waheeda Docrat. Now, World Lupus Day is a global healthcare event commemorated every year on the 10th of May. This is to raise awareness about this critical condition. This calls for an in-depth understanding and support for each individual who's been impacted, in addition to increase the funds for more research. Waheeda Docrat, our guest, is a lupus warrior. What does that mean? Obviously, that she has been diagnosed with lupus. How long has she been living with it, and how does she cope? Waheeda, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah so much, and all the listeners as well, and my lupus warriors. Jazakallah so much for having me.
Thank you very much for talking to us. That's very brave of you. But of course, you're a brave young lady because you are a lupus warrior and brave enough to talk about your condition. Because I think when people suffer from any disease, um, you do get, I guess, marginalized sometime, or perhaps there is a stigma attached. So, what's your journey been like being a lupus warrior?
For me, I think it's all about sharing the journey and sharing what lupus is. Yes, I think as a warrior, we call ourselves warriors because we go into battle on a daily basis, fighting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yes, I think regarding the stigma, I think especially newly diagnosed, warriors, they don't know where to start. I think a lot of people don't even know what lupus is. So it's a struggle of trying to explain to people what you're actually dealing with, what symptoms to expect. And obviously, having a support system or structure, whether it's family or friends or colleagues or people around you, I think a lot of people even wanting to help, not sure where to start. So it's a dynamic that affects the person itself and the family around them and friends around them. But what makes it easier is knowing yourself, understanding what's actually happening to you as a warrior, because you feel almost like a fish out of water once you're diagnosed.
Mm.
You go through a struggle of like almost like an imposter syndrome where you're not actually sure who you are anymore. You kind of go through a mourning of the person that you were to start understanding yourself better. So it's a struggle. It is a struggle initially, and it does take time to acknowledge and accept what's really happening. But there's light at the end of the tunnel in the sense of coping and management, treatments, and things like that. There is obviously no cure for it, and that's what lupus awareness this day is about. Trying to find ways, and inshallah, a cure one day. But treatment is there. There are many avenues of treatment, and it's basically finding what works for you because every lupus warrior is different, and their symptoms are different, and treatment is different. So it's all about self discovery, speaking to your doctors, speaking to the people around you, also being very self-aware of your symptoms on a daily basis because they're constantly changing or increasing. And it's just, I think acceptance makes the journey a lot more easier in dealing with, I'm seeing,
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
I'm seeing there's an increase in so many people being diagnosed with lupus lately. Yeah.
Okay. I understand that you are a very successful influencer, a very strong businesswoman in your own right. So that kind of makes your journey a little easier. That's what I'm assuming. I could be way wrong. How long ago was it that you were diagnosed with lupus? What was your reaction like, and what exactly is lupus?
So I was diagnosed almost 10 years ago. I actually had fibromyalgia before that, so I was diagnosed with that, and that was also something I was dealing with. What happens with lupus, sometimes there's a lot of underlying or overlapping symptoms, and it can take a while to actually diagnose. So you find a lot of people, they struggle and struggle with different symptoms, and they only get diagnosed maybe a year later or 2 years later because there is a bit of a situation with diagnosis. With me personally, I went through a bout of very high inflammation that happened on a very, very quick basis, which refused to decrease. Obviously, at that time, I thought it was the flu because it mimics flu. Lupus is something that mimics flu in symptoms, with fevers, your pains, your aches, multiple things. So it's very easy to think maybe you just have the flu, but I think you've got to be aware of symptoms that persist, and obviously no recovery with the usual antibiotics and medications and treatment that usually help. With me personally, inflammation refused to decrease, and it was escalating very rapidly, which brought me to obviously being hospitalized and doing more research in the diagnosis. It was quite life changing for me. I think for me, I knew about lupus, but I think I didn't know as much about it. So it took a lot of time for me to research more, to speak to people, find out more what it's about. The treatment, once they put me on the treatment initially, it was a big and a huge adjustment. Your body goes through so many changes. I think emotionally and mentally, you can actually feel quite drained. And also, it's a struggle within yourself at that time. So the people around you, it's hard to explain what you're exactly going through. But I think, my advice to anyone who's dealing with anyone that's close to them who's been newly diagnosed, just be patient and kind, and your support and love is important. But Alhamdulillah, when we accept everything comes from Allah, and we take that necessary steps on a daily basis, we start seeing the light, and we have good days. We definitely have good days, but we do have bad days, which we call maybe a flare, so to speak. And on those days, we take it a bit easier. We listen to our bodies. We need to rest and ask for help when needed. That makes a huge difference in just coping. In my instance, Alhamdulillah, I've learned to deal with it. I've learned what helps and what doesn't help. Stress is a very big factor regarding triggering the symptoms. So my advice to anyone is to keep the stress levels at a low, and just ask for the necessary help where you can. I think sometimes as women we try to do a lot on our own, but
Absolutely.
we always, but we need to do what helps us. Alhamdulillah, I have been in remission twice, but it's an ongoing illness which needs a close watch. So I think having a relationship with your doctors and the necessary treatments, and obviously regular testings and viewings and stuff like that make all the difference in helping to cope with this particular illness. For me as an
Okay,
influencer,
can I just come in there? Can I just come
yeah,
in there and just share something else with the listeners as well? We
yes,
understand it's been described as an invisible disease. Lupus is
yes,
a chronic autoimmune disease caused when the immune system attacks its own tissue, resulting in
yes,
pain and inflammation of the body tissues. And there are, as you've indicated earlier on, four various types of lupus. And
yes.
it is chronic, which means you're going to live with it for the rest of your life.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, in simple terms, it's the body attacking itself.
Right.
A normal person usually with a flu, they will take antibiotics, and it works, and you're back on your road to recovery. With a lupus patient, these good cells basically get confused. So instead of
Right.
attacking just the bad cells, they end up attacking the good cells and the good tissue basically in the body. So in this way, it affects obviously vital organs like your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver, and also your skin and the brain in some instances as well. So I think keeping a close watch and just using the necessary treatment. and changing your lifestyle, whether it's diet or whether it's, your stress levels or the way you do things just on a general daily basis, can just give you a little bit better quality of life in handling this particular disease. There is light at the tunnel in a sense of trying to live a life where you can still enjoy things and you can still manage to, attend certain things or be present in certain things, because a lot of the times when people are diagnosed, you start feeling like you kind of left out of things, or you feel like, whether you can manage. And yes, it's all about maneuvering how to cope in those instances, but you just take one day at a time, and that way that makes all the difference in just finding ways to cope.
Okay, Waheeda. I believe this year, 2023, the theme for World Lupus Day, Purple Day, is Make Lupus Visible. How do you do that?
I think for me, over the years, I think when I got diagnosed, I found that a lot of people didn't even know what it was, or even how to treat it, or to support people with it. So for me, I wouldn't call myself really an influencer as such, but I use my platform and my voice wherever I am or wherever I go to try and create this awareness of lupus, just to make people understand what it is. And if you probably know someone in your family or someone close to you, and just helping them to understand what it is they can actually do to help and lend support, and make them feel visible, so to speak, and make them realize, because I think a lot of the time lupus patients, we look absolutely normal on the outside. A
Mm.
lot of lupus patients look fine. We dress appropriately, we attend functions, we look like a normal person. But on the inside, our bodies are attacking us. We basically a ticking bomb with this illness. So I think just be a bit kind to those with lupus, understanding that it isn't invisible what they're going through. I think every lupus warrior who is dealing with it knows what it takes to get up in the morning and face that day and fight through that day on a daily basis. Just I think understanding and lending support makes a huge difference.
Okay, so with lupus, is it that you just, have symptoms of severe flu, extreme exhaustion, and pain throughout
Yeah.
the body? Is that how, simply put, is that how you describe it?
Yeah, so basically, fatigue is ongoing. I think when you say fatigue, it's not just your usual tiredness. It's you'd be having an 8 hour sleep and you'd still be really fatigued, and that just comes from your body trying to fight extra hard to actually survive, so to speak, because you don't have an immune system that a usual
Mm.
healthy normal person has. So you basically, if you picture yourself having a flu and you having a fever and you're exhausted and your body is sore and you're tired, that's us on a daily basis. Regular fevers become a normal thing. For me, I mean, speaking from experience, I think it almost becomes like second nature that sometimes you're not even aware that you're actually going through the symptom, because it just becomes so common. But I think an actual normal person going through it would definitely feel the effects of it. So I think we learn to live with it. It's not an easy thing to live with, but we learn to live with it because we obviously have a yearning and a strive to live. So we try
Normally,
to.
obviously.
Yes,
Wahida,
exactly.
that's where,
So,
that's where we're going to have to leave it. You're from
yes,
Durban. Many people know you as W.Diva by your Instagram handle.
yes,
And you, of course, have a media presence as well, at W Diva Collection. And
yes.
you're obviously focused on providing upliftment, inspiration, motivation, and trauma support counseling. Good on you, Alhamdulillah. You're also a single mom, designer, educator, beauty and wellness therapist, brand ambassador, inspirational speaker, with too much life in my veins, she says, to allow lupus to steal my thunder. You go, girl. I love hearing such positive talk, and I think you are absolutely amazing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watch over you all the time. Thank you for talking with us, and thank you for giving hope to other people out there listening to us this morning.
Jazakallah so much for the opportunity, and to all my lupus warriors, I wish you all love and light on a day like today, Lupus Awareness Day, and keep fighting and stay strong, and lots of love and du'as.
Thank you indeed. Khuda Hafiz. Salaam alaikum to you. That's where we leave it
So
for
much.
today. Thank you for your company and to our production team as well. Thank you for your support. It is 13 after 10 o'clock. Till Monday morning from me. As always, take care on the roads. Be safe. Allah be with you every step of the way. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.